Hi there, and welcome to Hearthside. My name is Michelle. I'm the author on the blog, and today we're doing something a little bit different. Instead of starting with our blog and making the accessible copy, what we are doing is I am interviewing Joy here, and then I will make the transcript as the blog entry. So, for those of you who don't know Joy, this is Joy Page, and she's one of my kin. And something really cool that Joy has just done is released a children's book. The book is called The Witch's Family. So we have hard copies and paperback editions, and I'll give you all the information at the end. So this is written by Joy, and the illustrator is Penny Nichols. And yeah, so I'm really excited about breaking our routine, doing the YouTube version first. So welcome, Joy.
Thanks for having me, Michelle.
So I would love to know what inspired you to write a children's book.
Well, I've always written, ever since I was 14 years old. I've been writing stories, and I just one night sort of had rhymes in my head. Sounds silly, but yeah, I had these rhymes in my head about a pink-haired witch living in a mushroom house. So, kept me awake until I actually, wrote it the next morning. I was on a flight to Kelowna, and I couldn't fall back asleep on the plane, so I just thought I'd write it down, and by the end of the flight, I had my full book.
That sounds really familiar to me. That's quite often how these blog entries go as well, that they suddenly keep me awake at night.
Yeah.
All right, so I just want to open up the book a little bit, show off a couple of the pages here. So here's the mushroom house that we're talking about.
It's one of my favorite pages in the book, to be honest. There's so much to look at.
And there's some really interesting illustrations in here, and a lot of them seem to have different animals. So I was wondering if you could tell me a little bit about the inspiration for all the different pets that are in this book.
Well, the big black dog is inspired by my dog who passed away in May. She was very protective of me and everybody who she considered pack. So anybody who was new, she was very suspicious of. So that's kind of where I based the character of the big black dog. And then there is the character of the puppy, who is based on my current puppy, who still to this day decides to chew my walls.
Oh dear.
So in the story with the puppy who does nothing but chew, 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 that's who he's based off of.
Yes, it seems like there's a lot of different things going on with the animals in the book and causing trouble for the witch in the story. Do you find that's true with your pets?
It was when I had a lot more. I used to do reptile rescue. So people would just sort of drop off sick and neglected reptiles, and I would try and nurse them back to health. And at one point, I think I had 26 snakes in the house. And I've had lizards and tortoises and stuff, and at the end of it, it's very, very taxing, so it can totally relate to what the pink-haired witch goes through in the book.
Awesome. And I would love to see some of your animals if that's possible. Would that be something we could do?
Totally.
Awesome. We're just going to pause, and we will see what animals we can find. All right, so who's this?
This is Prince Ember.
Oh, very cute.
Otherwise known as the lizard who wears paper wings and tries to fly.
Yes, that was really imaginative in the book. So what inspired you to give your lizard wings?
He has a pair of felt red wings that he looks really cute in. He actually has a whole wardrobe of costumes. So I occasionally take him outside during the summer months, and he wears his wings, and he decides he wants to go for a little adventure, and makes a leap for it.
So, for people who aren't familiar with lizards at all, what are some of the challenges of taking care of them?
I think the biggest challenge is that they don't have the same body language as a cat or a dog. So if they are sick, if there's something wrong with them, it's not always easy to tell. That's probably the biggest challenge of taking care of them, is knowing the signs of when they need to be seen to.
And how long have you had lizards for?
Probably about 11 years. Ember is 8 years old, I want to say. Yeah, I think he's almost 8 years old. And he's a little small for a male, but that's okay, because we love him no matter what size he is.
And how's the best way to handle a lizard?
Kind of just let them walk themselves through your hands. You don't want to make them feel cornered. That's when they pull the teeth out. He's very chill, obviously. He's never bit me. He's a very, very good boy. His sister Astrid, however, is not very nice. Yeah, she's a different type of dragon.
And have you always had beardies, or have you had different lizards?
Yeah, I've had a Euromastix as well. Had some geckos, and I guess, well, a salamander is like an amphibian, but this is sort of in the same vein. And then, the turtles and snakes and all different kinds.
Awesome. Well, it was nice to meet you, Ember, and we'll see what other animals we can find around here. All right, so we just saw Ember, and who is this?
This is Anton Pavel Chekhov, better known as Mr. Chekhov. Cadet Chekhov.
This looks like Chekhov is a big handful.
Yes, he is. Yes, you are. He doesn't know what we're doing.
And I love the illustration of Chekhov in the book. It looks a lot like him.
It looks spot on. It looks exactly like him, especially when he was a puppy, because he's only a year and a half. And the markings are just perfect. The little freckles. Hey, the little ears. Yes, I love you too, baby.
And what kind of dog is Chekhov?
Chekhov is a beagle and papillon with a bit of spaniel.
That is quite the mix.
Yeah, he sings like a beagle too.
And if you guys heard throughout the video some noises in the background, that was probably Chekhov. He was very excited that someone was over to visit.
Yes, he's a very needy boy. Has to be up in everybody's business.
All right. Well, thank you for showing us some of the pets that inspired you in your book, and we'll go on to the next question. So, for you, what was the most challenging part of writing and publishing your own book?
I think the most challenging part was doing the research and figuring out what companies to trust. There's a lot of, I don't want to say misinformation, but misinterpretation of what publishing companies are these days. I did have book offers, like publishing offers from some overseas company who are traditional publishing companies. But these days what's more popular is hybrid publication contracts. And it just wasn't for me because it's not that I wanted more money for the book. It's just that there were no real guarantees with distribution or no guarantees with what the publishing company was going to do for my book. So at least publishing my own book, I was in control. I knew exactly where it was going, how it was going to be distributed, and I do have to do a lot of the legwork myself in terms of going to smaller bookstores, but I do have a bit more control, and I really do like that.
And you think that working with a publisher was definitely better than like self-publishing or something? Because I know a lot of people do that with children's books now.
It's really hard to say, honestly. If you can find yourself like a decent traditional publisher that will actually guarantee what they are going to do in terms of distribution and advertising, promotions, and marketing for your book, then it's a good way to go. I absolutely support anybody who wants to do that. But self-publishing is great if you want to put the work in. So it's up to individuals. There's really a lot of good things on both sides.
Awesome. So I noticed like the illustrations are like very whimsical and detailed. Is there anything that you want to tell people about the illustrations?
The illustrations, they're just so like you said, super, super detailed. There's so much to see in them. It's almost like a Where's Waldo, because there's so much to look at. There's always something new. I'm even opening the book myself. I'm still finding new details that the illustrator has put in and like going, oh my gosh, that's so cool. For instance, there's a scene with a bookshelf, and I had no idea she had actually named the books on the bookshelf until I looked so closely. And it was such a nice little surprise. So like, keep looking at it. Keep looking at the book. Read it every day.
That will be wonderful with young kids, just to have things for them to be looking at on the pages when you're reading to them.
Yeah.
And things that you can get them to be looking for or pointing out to them to keep them more engaged. I noticed one other thing in the illustrations. There's this gnome guy who appears on a whole lot of the pages. Can you tell us a little bit about the gnome guy?
That was sort of an inside joke with me and the illustrator. We just sort of wanted a gag where a character would appear in almost every picture, but with nothing said, and not really have any real role in the story, but just, again, as like a Where's Waldo sort of thing, you know, make a game out of it with the kids reading it, going, can you find the gnome guys? And, you know, just make it a bit more interactive. Again, you're searching for the character, and you're bound to pick up more details. So it was just really, really adorable. I thought we could have the gnome do some silly things in the background.
Yeah, I really love that. And the gnome is on almost all the pages, as you say, if you're looking through the book. So you guys can look forward to that when you get your copy. What advice would you give to someone who is trying to write a children's book?
Research. So much research and editing. Have like at least 10 people read it, and even examine subtext. Make sure that nothing could be misinterpreted. It's kind of easy these days for the message to get sort of mixed up and to be misinterpreted. So it's a good idea to have as many people read it before wanting to publish as you can.
And do you think that it's more difficult to write a children's book than an adult's book, or just like different in how it's difficult?
It's just different, especially if you're going a self-publishing route. It would be a lot more expensive to write something, say, a novel. The editing cost is pretty substantial. I was lucky for my children's book. It's not very long, so paying an editor wasn't too bad. But if you're writing a novel, you're going to pay quite a bit with self-publishing for an editor to look at it, especially since you really should go through 3 editors, because everybody is going to pick out something different from your book. Everybody's brain's going to work differently. They're all going to fill in different parts of the sentences. So it's good to just have as many eyes on your work as you can. It'll help a lot.
Awesome, that's great advice. And is there anything else that you want to share with us about your book?
It's my first book, which I'm really, really excited about. And I have so many more stories that I want to tell. So this one, I'm really hoping it goes well. And it was a labor of love. I put a lot of myself into it. And I wrote it sort of in memory of my of my dog. She was my heart and soul. She was the center of my world. So it's kind of in memory of her.
Awesome. That's really neat. So what places should we look for you if we want to find you on social media?
I am on Instagram, and it is JJ Page Author.
Awesome.
That is.
All right, so we will definitely post that below and also on my blog. And if someone wants to purchase your book, where would they go?
It's at Barnes & Noble. It's at Chapters Indigo. It's on the Friesen Press online bookstore. And it is even being stocked at Aaron's bookstore in Pennsylvania. For anyone who wants a hard copy, Aaron's Books in Pennsylvania has it on their shelf.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And for those of you who have been following my blog for a while, I hope you enjoyed this new format. I'm going to link below details for Joy and also for her illustrator, and also details for where you can find my blog. And I hope to see you next time.